men and women, for those of you that are looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, and I'm going to even say the same questions for same sex as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're looking for Mr. Man or Sweet Lady Jane, and you are looking for someone to go out with, what are the 5 topics again?
Mental.
Mental.
Physical.
So write this down. Pick up a pen. Great. Mental.
Physical.
Physical.
Emotional.
Emotional.
Spiritual.
Spiritual.
Financial.
Financial. Okay. Give me a mental question that somebody hypothetically would ask.
Yeah, so in terms of the mental, it revolves around profession.
Okay.
Right? That's what I like to take it,
Great.
right? And a lot of people don't understand is that you can find out so much about an individual with a simple question, right? There's a great book called The Book of 5 Rings. Long story short, there was a quote in there, from one thing, know 10,000 things. All right. So when you ask, like, let's say somebody's a psychologist, right?
Okay.
And you ask them, I'll put a doctor, right? So they're a surgeon, and you ask him, hey, like, so what is this part of my arm? And he really can't answer that question. Right?
Go to a different doctor. Yeah, that's
right?
pretty simple, yeah.
So he probably does not have, he's probably not passed all of the tests that he needs to, and he's probably, had some malpractice and things like that, right? All I'm saying is that from the mental side, you want to ask questions that are very specific to the individual and then about the world around them, right? Current events, different things that matter to you, right? Understand where they are on the mental standpoint so that you can see whether or not the two of you can, relate in that area.
Okay, physical.
Physical. A lot of physical questions can be answered through by watching somebody's tastes and preferences, and also by observing the individual, right? So if you have a guy that's sitting across from you, and he is eating, 2 hamburgers, he wants to go out and he eats 2 hamburgers, French fries, things like that. It doesn't matter how good he looks, he's probably going to drop dead of a heart attack at some point because he's shoveling tons of fat and things like that into his body.
Why'd you just call me fat? God, I just lost 20. No,
but I mean, things like that, just start
But people don't pay attention to that's interesting, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So pay attention, and also maybe look at their workout regime, see how fit they are, and if they get involved in sports.
Exactly, and I have a really great friend of mine, and sorry for using him as an example,
Please.
but his father was the epitome of the look of a very fit man, and long story short, he ended up dying of a heart attack. Early.
Wow.
And that's a clue to me. I was just like, man, and I actually had a friend who was super fit as well, and he had a heart attack, at the age of 32. Right? And so you have to understand that, lifestyle choices and things like that, they're very important because they relate to the individual. Hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with her, or I want to spend the rest of my life with him. He's probably not going to live long because he just ate 3,000 calories in one sitting.
And a cookie.
And a cookie.
We all love our cookies.
Right. And that's where a lot of questions come from. Going back to your, the
Please.
idea of the primitive side and everything like that. It really is, hey, I'm selfish. I want you for the rest of my life.
I love that. Let's talk financial, because then we'll have to go to our last break, which I hate. Financial. What kind of questions do you ask financially?
Yeah, I mean, is the person fiscally responsible? So we all have our ups and downs, and we all have times where we might make a bad decision, or we might splurge, or we might do this and that. But are their decisions consistently on the right path? I've seen it time and time again where somebody's got a great job and things like that, but they just keep spending money more than what they're making. Well, hey, guess what? That's not going to be great for your long-term proposition if you want children, if you want to save for college, you want to save for private schools, things like that. So ask questions that relate to their spending habits. Ask questions that relate to, hey, are they forward-thinking in the future, so that they can say, hey, if the guy says he wants a family, is he setting aside some money for that? Is he setting himself in a position, career-wise, to be able to afford a family? And
But do you say to somebody, do you say, hey, John, are you putting money aside for little Susie, Frankie, and Johnny that we're going to have? Or how do you pose that question to somebody?
Well, what I tell my clients is to always couple questions together, which is very, very important. The first question would be, hey, would you like to have a family? And he says, oh, yeah, I want a family. And you're just like, oh, okay, so where are you going in your career that's going to set you up for that? Well, I'm working at the bottom rung of my company, and I haven't really tried to get to the top. And I'm going to be making this in living check to check for the rest of my life. Well, now you can see that he hasn't really thought more about the future. So ask questions that build on each other, that help you get a full picture of that individual.
So then you get an idea as to, okay, they're not really saving for the future, and I kind of want to go out with somebody that wants to have a plan.
Yeah, I tell my clients all the time, don't feel bad about wanting certain things, right? Imagine yourself. Don't be afraid to dream big. And I literally have clients who say, "Hey, I want to have a private jet lifestyle." All right. Well, understand that each time your significant other or you charter a jet, it's going to be a minimum of $15,000, right? Well, that's fine. You understand that, but certain career fields are not going to get you there. Right? And so when you start understanding, hey, you know what, this guy might be working this small job now, but he's putting the pieces in place. He's creating the different streams of income to where he will get there, and I can see that potential in him. Now you can start to build a great relationship with that person because you know that he's got those blinders on, he's ready, he sees success, rather than the guy who looks like he's great on paper, but he really hasn't put a lot of things together for himself.
Pay attention to the fine details. And you know what, guys? I'm not taking a break. I'm not taking a break. I'm not. I'm not. So for my sponsors, I love you. And for my sponsors that are single, sorry. Sarah, do you have a private jet? Okay. So, and you're talking about really asking some hardcore questions.
Yeah.
Let's talk spiritual.
Okay.
What's a spiritual question that's
I'm for my own personal preferences, I don't like to talk religion to my clients.
Okay.
But spirituality, that's something that essentially just says, hey, you know what? There is something about ourselves, something about this connection that we have with the world that is beyond what the eyes can see and what the hands can touch and what the ears can hear. And what that means is, do you have a sense of understanding of the world around you and what that means?
Okay.
Right? And do you have an answer for some of these things? Because guess what? Your children are going to want to know that. Right? And people don't think about that. Oh, well, if he doesn't care about this, it's fine. Well, guess what? When you're looking long term, and that's why I'm a courtship consultant, is simply because it implies more of a long-term approach, more of a committed relationship status in taking dating to that point. And really what that means is, hey, you know what? If we want to be together, and I want long-term, and I want children, and I want this and that and this and that, where does your family come involved with that, right? Where do your kids come involved? And that's why having answers for that, just making sure that he has an answer and making sure that he's thought about those things is very, very important, whichever mate that you want in your life.
And bottom line again is pay attention to the answer.
Yes.
Okay. And
100%.
Please. I mean, here's the thing, because one thing, it's a great saying, people show you and tell you who they are.
They do.
And you hear these stories of somebody going, oh my gosh, I didn't see it. Yes, you did. You just weren't looking at it because we so much want this person.
I got a great quote for everybody.
Please.
Love is not blind, it sees more. But because you're in love, you're willing to see less. And I think that a lot of people fall victim to that. And they have to understand, hey, you know what? Everything that you needed was right there. And I tell my clients all the time, when I work with them, I say, look, you'll know all you need to know in 3 dates. And they think I'm crazy.
Why 3 dates?
Right? Because we start to structure it where you ask those questions. You have the right environment. You have everything that you need at your disposal, but you've been too afraid to ask. So you wait 6 months. You wait a year to ask all the right questions, and all the while we build up these lies with each other. And oh, since she didn't know that I like to go to strip clubs, now I'm going to keep hiding this. And then all of a sudden you're married to somebody, and he's been sneaking out going to strip clubs with his buddies, and all it took was to ask the question early on. But he's been lying to you up to this point because he felt odd about it and everything like that. You have to get to those questions, and this is another great thing too. People only lie, unless they're pathological, they only lie when they feel they have to. And I tell each of my clients that. It's very, very important. That means it puts the onus back on you to be open and honest and facilitate great conversation, because that's, like I said, in the mind is where love is.